Welcome to bLU Talks.
Business. My name is Mitch, Cammidge, and Rosalind is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. One of my other favorite human beings sitting over there on the turntables. So first of all, let's clap for Corey, because the guy's doing audio for his whole event, right? And then Tyler's on the camera. Rosalind's announcing everybody here. You guys don't want to hear all that stuff, but somebody's got to give them love. Somebody's got to do that, right? Because it's the most important thing in the world. It's one of the most important functions that we can do. Now, some of the stuff that was there, and Rosalind and I get a chance to catch up face to face, and don't worry, my pace is going to slow down in a moment, but I've been jacked up for 2 hours. Who crushed their workout this morning? This guy did, right? Who did their brain work this morning? Right? Who did their soul work this morning? Who's going to make a little more money today? It's not a shameful one at all. We think that money and our soul can't go together. So what I'm going to give you guys, and it's going to be maybe about 20 minutes of actual talking, you're going to want to write a lot of notes. Why? If you follow along, who wants to get rich? Probably a handful of hands, few people come and go, I don't want to do that. You don't want to get rich? I'm sorry. I've had rich people problems and poor people problems, and I prefer the former. Yes. Right? I really do. Because rich people problems are very different than poor people problems. So if you write enough notes today, and you're willing to transact on a third of what I say, your business and what you're going to do next is going to get better. If you do half of what I tell you to do, it's going to take a big step forward in the next 90 days. And if you follow through with all of it in the next 30 days, Paul and Matt, you want to stand up for a second? These are my brothers from other mothers. These are my coaches inside of the MCC empire. They wrote a book about Paul because he bought a house for $1. Okay? He bought a house for $1. Matt there started a little restaurant chain, maybe you know it, called Original Joe's. Right? Wow. That's before they came to work for me, years ago. So every time, guys, thank you very much. Every time, one of the things to take away to start with is, what do? You surround yourself with really good people, right? You get a mindset and a mentality about money that isn't immature. You invest in those parts of yourself that suck. And there are universal truths that are must-have for business success to come. Who's worked 60 or 70 or 80 hours in the last week? Okay. Who's worked 60 or 70 or 80 hours in the last week on the most fundamental 5 parts of your business? There's a big difference in return on investment. Now, some of this that you're going to hear from me today, and again, I'm preambling, you know how this works. We got to build you up to something great, and then you're going to learn, you're like, wow, that's awesome. I've been learning in the last 2 years, in the last 3 years, in the last 6 months. And in fact, I had to be challenged by a mentor to take a step forward. Because like a lot of people, I was spending more time working than I was building my business. I was spending more time working than doing what my business is for. Now, I bring up money early on, and I talk about who wants to be rich and all this other stuff. Why? Who here knows what the real purpose of your business is? What's the real... You guys can't answer this. I know you know the answer. Scott?
To help other people.
Really, really close. Really close. Help other people is one of the outcomes. Make money? Ooh. I don't want to say you're wrong, but you're wrong.
Create difference, positivity.
Getting really close. Really, really close. Create a positivity, help or support people, get paid are outcomes for what your business actually does. What is your product, service, commodity, or offering? What's the price and what's the value on it? because your business is only in business to provide that product, that service, that commodity, or that offering. It's the only reason it exists. It does something, provides something, or gives something to somebody else. The return that you provide is the value. What is value? It's what other people believe what you've given them is worth. That has nothing to do with price. The higher the value you make of the product or service that you provide, the more money you can make. I want you to think about it for a moment, and then I'm going to give you a list of things. And I'm going to rifle through them relatively quickly, because there's actually a handful of steps in each one. And if you do them, and like I said, if you follow through with all of them, you'll notice a difference in 30 days. It will make a massive difference in 6 months, and in a year, your business will change entirely. Okay? So when we look at money for a moment, the attitude and the idea that goes into money, we all have a really immature sense of it. Whoever got an allowance growing up, right? Who has ever had a job? Who's ever earned a paycheck, right? Who's ever paid themselves? Who's had their business earn money that can give it to them when they just wake up in the morning? Now that mentality is evolution for the way we think or the way we view money. And most of us have a really immature sense of that. So getting right in your head first how you view money is going to be desperately important for you to do what? Make more. If all you do is chase money, and by the way, I've been playing this song pretty much non-stop from Pitbull. I feel good. But this guy, okay, his attitude on money is exceptional because he says if you chase money, you will always be chasing it. If you do something of value, you're going to get paid. You're going to get rich. So there's some parts you need to understand here. First of all, your business. So I want you to write the word business, okay? And then underneath it, you're just going to write 3 words. Cash, sales, and people. And then I want you to go down a little bit, maybe about halfway through the page, and then I want you to write myself. And for myself, there's a couple of things that are must-haves for success. Whether you work for somebody else, whether you work for yourself, or whether you own a business with dozens and dozens of employees. By the way, when Rosalind and I were walking, I was so happy to see her, so elated. She asked what's changed. And so you start burping stuff out. Some of these things where I said, you know, I've been learning in the last 3 years, in the last 2 years, in the last year, in the last 6 months. It took 18 months ago to get me to 12 months ago when 2 companies turned into 14. That sounds really cool. It's a lot of fucking hard work. It's a lot of hard work. So if you know how to organize that hard work the right way, then you're going to become more successful. So where you said myself, here's what else you have to figure out. For you have to understand this about you right now and work on these parts. First of all, time management. You have to have a really strong sense of what you're doing with your time. And I don't mean a book or a page that's got it broken down in 15 minutes and you fill in every line with every function you got to do throughout the day. That's exhausting. Time management's a function of figuring out what the highest order of things that you got to do. Next, if you're going to be really successful, you have to be able to problem solve. I don't mean project manage. You have to be able to solve problems. You have to be able to navigate and work through them. Now, there's higher order thinking and problem solving. So a quick example, it's called design thinking. Design thinking is the highest order of problem solving there is. But it's having a methodology to look at the way you actually address and understand what's broken first. You have to be able to self-start. You have to be able to get off your ass and get moving. If you can't do that, you're not going to get success. And number 4, so what have we seen so far, right? Number 4, you got to get good with people. You can either get good with convincing them to do things, you know, the absolute basic building blocks of sales. You can get good at anticipating their needs, figuring out what they want ahead of time. You can get good at communicating with them. If you don't have those, you are going to fail. Those are skills. They're called competencies. They are must-haves. In fact, empirical studies done, and this is behavioral psychologists, this is industrial psychology, says that the top 5 traits that show up inside of entrepreneurs that are highly successful: self-starting, problem solving, good form of communication skills, right? Time management. And what do you think the last one is, the 5th one? Because this goes into something that you have to address inside yourself. What's the 5th one, do you think? That's time management. Mindset is there. Mindset comes really, really close. You know what number 5 is? Most successful people on the planet? I'm not talking billionaires. The most successful people continuously on the planet. You see it in athletes.
Always learning.
Always. Now, learning is part of the next part of yourself. Lack of agreeableness. If I'm going to succeed, there are going to come moments where I may be challenged. I can be challenged by a customer. I can be challenged by a vendor or a partner. I can be challenged by one of my business partners. I can be challenged by an employee. But there's going to come moments where you are so certain of the outcome that other people, now it could be limiting beliefs, it could be a lack of understanding. You always have to take good feedback from people. Remember what I said about getting good to communicate, interact with people? But that lack of agreeableness means that you are willing to focus on what you believe is your best outcome. Now, something Scott said for a moment is a really important part of it too. Those are called competencies. You're like, how's lack of agreeableness a competency? Because that's actually a sense of certainty. Lack of agreeableness is attitude, framing, mindset. And that's where it moves to the other part of what makes up a good human being, right? Lack of agreeableness means that you're willing on occasion to tell somebody no. And more importantly, you're willing to, bad word in 3, 2, 1, tell people to go fuck themselves. Absolutely empirically tell them to get lost, to beat it. So I'm going to outline these things for you here statistically, and Corey loved this because I did something very similar. The very first bLU talks, and Rosalind will remember this as well. I want everybody to stand up for a second, okay? So here is part of what you need to understand about business if you're going to get more successful. Right now, so just have a look around the room. There's at least one person in this room you don't know. Who's going to have the guts to go over and talk to them at some point? Who's going to have the guts to go over and say hi? Who's going to have the guts to follow up? And then who's going to have the guts to say, listen, this ain't about money for a moment. Let's figure out what each of us does and see if we can help. Right? There's a 100% chance you will do more business in the next 30, 60, and 90 days if you talk to at least 2 people in this room. Guaranteed. 100%. How do I know? One of the businesses I started 2 years ago is called Syndicate. It's literally a business networking and mastermind group. It literally helps people build better relationships, foster communication. The amount of business that comes out of that room amongst members is staggering. We did $500,000 in the room our very first meeting. Why? Actually, weird enough, it was only one deal. One of our members, Greg, puts his hand up and goes, I need a bridge loan of $500,000 or I can't take care of this piece of property and this deal I've got is going to fall through. And there's people just like we're in here. People are like, I'm just trying to pay the rent, make my mortgage payment. Other people are like, yeah, I can afford that. But he had the deal in 72 hours because he opened his mouth, started to talk, and people went, hey, I like Greg. I think I can help him. But we often don't do that. So while we're standing up right now, I'm going to get you to do something. I want you to think about yourself for a moment. Well, what was the last time you were really happy? When was the last time you were really, really happy? Incredibly happy. Ridiculously happy, okay? What do I have? I want this side of the room to sit down for a moment. Go ahead, that side of the room to sit down for a moment. And what do I have over here? Susan, you can sit down. Okay, I want you to look around the room. How many people are standing up? Statistically, this is how many people report being happy on a day-to-day basis. You're going, hey, we're all in this room. Chances are we're a lot happier. I bet you've asked how many left-handed people are in the room. It'll be a lot higher than what statistically is there. But this is roughly about the number of people that report being happy on a day-to-day basis. Okay? Can everybody stand up again for a moment? Who here knows, and again, it sounds like I'm bouncing around, but I'm proving a point about the way we perceive things, and then you're going to go back to the notes because the mechanics are really simple. I want to make it as short a time frame as possible to reinforce how good this is for you to follow through with. Why don't you look around for a moment? Who here knows how successful the average business owner is in hiring? Right? The average business owner is hiring. Can I get this side of the room to sit down again? Susan, can I get you to sit down? There's so many business owners that try to hire an employee out of everybody in this room are successful every time they hire. Can I get everybody to stand up? You guys are like, I hate you right now. Hey, I work my glutes and my hammies today too, so, right? I worked mine today too. How many people are going to buy from you the very first time you tell them what you do? Can everybody but Matt sit down? Everybody go ahead and sit down. No, I'm not saying all run over to Matt. He's not going to buy all your stuff. I don't know if it's Matt individually, but he's not going to buy all your stuff, right? Okay, everybody stand up again, please. How many people still are in business in 10 years? Everybody sit down but Matt.
I was just saying, is Matt ever going to sit down?
No. I'm doing this to him on purpose.
Yeah.
So what I just illustrated are what the common perceptions are for people in business. If I just get in front of them next, it's going to work. Right? Now I'm going to do one more thing. Matt, just stay standing. I'm not even going to make everybody else get up for a moment. Okay? You can look around and see how many people are sitting down. And yes, I picked on one of the shortest people in the room. Sorry, buddy. I love you, brother. Right?
I can relate.
Statistically, based on this, and by the way, he's actually, Matt, sit down, Paul, stand up. There we go. That'll be statistically a little better, just by proportion size. Paul now represents, by percentage, the number of people that will earn 1% in North America. By the way, what it takes to get 1% money in North America went up 60% last year. So in a pandemic where people's earnings dropped and where inflation started to creep towards double digits, the amount of money it takes to qualify in the 1% increased by 60%. Paul, thank you very much. So here's where we get to the mechanics for a moment. Remember what did I say about business? What are the things that you gotta have working for business? Anybody?
Cash sales and people.
Cash sales and people, okay? So if you're right 1 in 3 times hiring, how often do you have to hire an employee before you get it right? How often?
4.
Exactly. You gotta hire 4 times. What if you change the way you hire? Now, what did I say was going to be successful? And I deliberately left out the last part. What did I say was going to be successful for all entrepreneurs and all business owners? We got to be able to make sure we take care of our cash. We got to be able to sell. We got to have good people, right? And then as entrepreneurs, what do we have to have? We got to be able to time manage. We got to be able to problem solve. We got to be able to self-start, right? We got to be good working with people, and we got to have a lack of agreeableness. Characteristics of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And then the third component that makes up somebody that's really good at something, so those are competencies, things that you can develop through life. There's technical skills. If you're a welder or you're an accountant or you're a lawyer or you sweep garbage or whatever it is, there's a series of technical skills that you have to have for that to work. If I go to hire somebody and I'm only right 1 in 3 times, but first of all, I ask them these questions. How much money does it take for you to get by? How good were you at your last job? What was your performance like? You know, give me an example of something that goes above and beyond. How do you work with people? Are we going to get along? Like a marriage. Why are you going to spend 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day with this person if you hire them, right? Are they willing to do extra? Are they willing to go above and beyond? What have you just done? You've started to change the characteristics and ask them the kinds of questions that make successful entrepreneurs. Do you know what your hiring success ratio is? You guys stay down for a moment. Everybody stand up over here. Matt, you can stand up now. This is what hiring turns into, 70% instead of 30%. By the way, everybody can sit down now. The 30%, you're like, okay, I'm going to hire an expert instead. I'm going to get an absolute expert. Statistically speaking, and these come from HRIA, Human Resources Institute of Alberta, HR professionals, a 4-year degree, average entrepreneur, small business owner is accurate 32% of the time hiring. The average HR professional is accurate 34%. Congratulations, 4 years of university to get 2% more accuracy. It's not proof that it's going to work. Not proof at all. But what does that speak to? It speaks to what? Anticipating people's needs, communicating with them effectively, establishing expectations, being able to give somebody something to measure, being able to work with them in a certain way. So what did I just do? I took the idea of just hiring for a moment and tied it to both your money and your sales. Imagine if you went for a moment to talk to somebody in sales and said, hey, because who can agree that every salesperson can either come across as slick and fast or good? Very rarely both. Who gets hired more frequently? Slick and fast. Good. I love your optimism. That's outstanding. No, why? We are so busy with everything we're doing. Like, if I could just get this organized, everything would be perfect. Hey, you sound like you know what you're saying. You're in. What's your view on money? How are you going to treat your customers? What was your performance like? You know, What have you been working on for yourself, etc.? What kind of skills do you have outside of just sales? What are you trying to build? What are you getting after? How else do I compensate you? You go, man, that's technical. So now we go to the third part, which I've deliberately left out, but I've mentioned already, technical skills. There are certain technical skills you have to succeed as an entrepreneur, but there are specific technical skills that are must-haves in every business. What do they revolve around? Cash flow, sales, and people. Sales, now we're going to come back to cash at the end. Cash money. Remember I asked you the question at the very beginning, if you want to get rich? Go to sales. How much time do I got? 9? That's bullshit. Okay, this is going to come really fast, okay? It's going to come incredibly fast, so get ready to write.
We need a time extension.
Right, we need a time extension. This is going to come really, really quickly, so let's get ready. Sales, you have to know what your price is. You have to know what your value proposition is, and you have to know what problems you're solving. If you can solve those problems and explain it to customers, it increases the likelihood they buy. The third part in sales that must work is, are you willing to invest in building a relationship? In other words, if I can't get paid today, am I good with continuing to work with them long term? If I am, what do you do when you're going to sell? Instead of just Matt by himself, you know what I do? I get everybody to stand up but Matt. Who wants a 96% closing ratio in sales? Invest in building relationships. 100% empirically. Who wants a better employee right the first time? Ask them technical questions, find out what their competencies are, and make sure you could actually marry them. Otherwise, you're not going to get along with them every day, and you're the boss. They better be willing to work with you just as much as you want to work with them to make the business better. When it comes to cash flow and money in the business, it comes in 3 flavors. There's the actual cash. How much cash you got in the bank? Cash is your fuel tank. Less cash you have, the worse off you are. Secondly, your financial reporting. That is your long-term health check for the business. If that is not right, you're screwed. And the third is the entire financial bundle that talks about the whole picture of your business. If you don't have a grounding in all 3 of those, you are hooped. If you do not actively, and you hear I'm saying, like, Mitch, aren't you supposed to be a coach? Yeah, I'm telling you this stuff. Why? Somebody else is going to make you feel better in your soul. I don't get paid to make you feel better. I get paid to make you more money. Who's made $2 billion in the last 5 years? That's how much money I've made for my clients. I'm here to make you more money. If you're going to do that, you have to, and this is development, you have to learn to self-start. Start with a proper routine in the morning. Start with fitness, nutrition. Like, Mitch, you're a fat dude. What are you talking about fitness and nutrition? I crushed my workout this morning. Remember when I asked the question, who's worked 40, 50, 60, 80 hours in the past week on the primary functions of their business? The pandemic meant that I don't move from my chair 12 or 15 or 16 hours a day. But when I do move from my chair, it's only to go to my family. It's not to do anything else in my business. So learn to self-start and organize yourself. When we talk about time management, learn to drag things into chunks and blocks. If you do that, you'll become more successful because stuff gets concentrated. The more concentrated it is, the faster you complete things. Stop wasting your time by task switching. It takes the average person 6 minutes to task switch. It takes an average person 4 minutes for their brain to entirely align. If you check your email every hour on the hour, you lose 10 minutes every hour by checking your email. You lose 17% of your usable day looking at your email. Look at it 2 or 3 times a day. Right? What did we just cover? Time management, self-start. Get good with people. There are too many courses and too many books out there right now that you are deliberately pleading ignorance when it comes to communicating with people. Learn to sell more effectively. You want really great examples? There's Sandler Sales Training. It's one of the best sales systems in the world. It teaches an awful lot of people how to do that. I've got an entire sales system called Conquer Sales. It's all the branding, it's all in the name, right? Sure, it says Savage New Business. Of course, I'm going to have a name like Conquer Sales, you know? But there are dozens, hundreds of sales systems. There's 10X by Grant Cardone, etc. These help you get better at communicating with people. Take a conflict resolution course. People that statistically are significantly more successful in business and close more business, and this is where we get to anticipating needs, but more importantly, communicating people, have what? A higher EQ, emotional quotient. Learning to anticipate other people's needs and solve their problems. Remember I said problem solving is a skill that you must have? Read a book. There are any number of them published by Wiley Publishing right now called design thinking. Learn how to solve problems like the best design engineers in the world, and you will never have a problem that you can't conquer. I will say this from a personal standpoint right now. I used to fall to pieces because one of the top 7 entrepreneurial competencies that you have to have is perseverance. The ability to get punched and knocked down. This sounds really strange for a guy, if you know me personally. I spent 30 years in the martial arts. I don't run anymore because this knee is screwed. It is pooched. But for all the times I've been punched in the face, life or business or money would knock me and I'd hit the floor. And I'd stay down for a long time. Why the fuck is this happening to me? Why am I stuck continuously like this? That attitude changed when what did I do? I invested in a coach. I invested in one of the best coaches on the planet. He's one of the top 5 Tony Robbins coaches on the planet. And he's my business partner. I went from paying this dude to working in business with him. Invest in these things. Why? Because if you don't get tougher, and you're not able to convey that, and you're not able to judge that, you're not able to work with people, and you can't get a sense of who they are, EQ, then you are not going to do what? Close 96% of the time. You absolutely will not. And that last one, lack of agreeableness, I know, I gotta wrap it up. It's okay, I wanted to come to the lack of agreeableness part anyway. It behooves you right now, at no other time in life, the younger you are, the more you have to lean into this one. Become an absolute monster in business. Become a complete and utter savage. Take out one of your competitors. Understand their price and their value and attack it. Hire their best employees. Make your business so unassailable from a business foundation standpoint that your business cannot be touched and your competitors, never mind your customers, are so afraid that you're the only alternative to come to. Mitch, that goes against the EQ question. It does not. When you become unassailable in business, people do not question your integrity. They don't question your value. Because if your value is so much further ahead of your competitors and your price is so comparably competitive, or the price is higher, but based on the value you provide, it is clearly fait accompli, a must-have to take on. Be absolutely monstrous in business because your competitors don't give a rat's ass if you survive. And honestly, neither do your customers. Stand up for yourself and your business, and you're going to have success. And then you can answer the question, which are you, rich or poor? Because you'll make more money. Because all of these things are part of you and the makeup of your business. If you follow through, 30 days from now, you'll notice a difference. And in a year, everything will have transformed. Thank you so much.